With most of the world's economy stagnant, Brazil's is growing at 7%, 3 times faster than America. It is a huge country, slightly larger than the continental U.S., with vast expanses of arable farmland, an abundance of natural resources, and 14% of the world's fresh water. 80% of its electricity comes from hydropower. It has the most sophisticated biofuels industry in the world, and for its size, the world's greenest economy. Brazil is already the largest producer of iron ore in the world and the world's leading exporter of beef, chicken, orange juice, sugar, coffee, and tobacco, much of it bound for China, which has replaced the U.S. as Brazil's leading trade partner.
And Brazil has the size to match China's appetite.
You have
it's a big dragon on the other side.
You have everything they need.
We have, yes. You need the Brazil to basically fulfill the Chinese needs.
Batista, who has interests in mining, transportation, and oil and gas, is building a huge superport complex north of Rio with Chinese investment that will accommodate the world's largest tankers and speed delivery of iron ore and other resources to Asia. But it's not just commodities that are driving the Brazilian boom. The country has a substantial manufacturing base and a large auto industry. Aviation giant Embraer is the world's third largest aircraft manufacturer behind Boeing and Airbus, and a main supplier of regional jets to the U.S. market. Ike Batista says the one thing that Brazil could use more of is skilled labor.
We have to create more engineers. In my oil company, I'm importing Americans to weld our platforms.
To weld the platforms?
Yes, there's a lack of welders. We're walking into a phase of almost full employment. This country has created almost 1.5 million jobs this year already. It's unbelievable.
Brazil has seen periods of prosperity before, only to have the bubbles burst. It spent billions in the 50s and 60s moving its capital to a barren savanna near the middle of the country where it built Brasilia, a futuristic city right out of the Jetsons. Then it borrowed billions more to develop the country's interior. Corruption and ineptitude eventually led to a financial collapse, 2,000% inflation, and at the time, the largest financial rescue package in the history of the International Monetary Fund. Then a few years later, this man walked into the president's office. President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, known simply as Lula, is a former metal worker with a 4th grade education and a doctorate in charisma. When he was elected 8 years ago on his 4th try, Lula was a firebrand labor leader with socialist tendencies. Some predicted another Hugo Chavez. But he's about to leave office with a 77% approval rating and much of the credit for turning the country around. We talked to him at the presidential residence in Brasilia.
When you took office, there were many businessmen, both in Brazil and abroad, who were very nervous about you, who thought that you were a socialist and that you were going to take the country sharply to the left. Yet these people now are among your biggest supporters. How did that happen?
Look, every once in a while, I joke that a metal worker with a socialist background had to become president of Brazil to make capitalism work here. Because we were a capitalist society without capital. And if you look at the bank's balance sheets for this year, you will see that the banks have never made so much money in Brazil as they have during my government. The big companies have never sold as many cars as they have during my government. But the workers have also made money.
How have you managed to do that?
I have found out something amazing. The success of an elected official is in the art of doing what is obvious. It is what everyone knows needs to be done, but some insist on doing differently.
One thing obvious to Lula was the social and economic chasm separating Brazil's rich and poor. He gave the poor families a monthly stipend of $115 just for sending their children to school and taking them to the doctors. The infusion of cash helped lift 21 million people out of poverty and into the lower middle class, creating an untapped market for first-time buyers of refrigerators and cars. But he was also far friendlier to business than anyone expected, encouraging growth and development and maintaining conservative fiscal policies and tight banking regulations that left Brazil unscathed by the world financial crisis. While many in Brazil's cities lust for first world status, the third world is never far away. For decades, Brazil ignored the festering slums known as favelas, which wrap around Rio, overlooking some of the most valuable real estate in the city. They have been staging areas for street crime against tourists and safe havens for drug gangs so well armed that they brought down a police helicopter a few years ago with heavy machine gun fire. Finally, after years of looking the other way, the military police have begun to move in. In recent weeks, some parts of Rio have been a battle zone, with drug traffickers burning buses near some of the sports venues. But so far, the police have pacified 13 of the most dangerous favelas, and there are 27 more to go.
This is a revolution. I myself did not believe this 3 years ago. There is a solution for slums all over Brazil.
But there are also some massive problems with infrastructure. If the road to Brazil's future is long and wide, it is also jammed with traffic and filled with potholes. 90% of the roads in the country are still unpaved, and in the cities there's not much in the way of public transportation. And already there are major delays in the building and renovating of stadiums for the 2014 World Cup.
FIFA, the World Soccer Organization, says Brazil is way behind in making preparations for the World Cup. Will the country be ready?
Primeiro, nós precisamos tomar cuidado.
Look, first, we need to be careful about European perfectionism, because everything that happens here in the South, they think they know better than us. Well, the Europeans may put their minds at ease because we will organize the most extraordinary World Cup ever.
There are people that believe that once you are gone, Brazil may revert to its old ways. Will the momentum continue once you leave office at the end of the year?
If there's something I am proud of, it is to have told my people that we are not second-class citizens, that we can get things done. We can believe in ourselves, and then people have started to believe.